Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Hump Day.
Woo-hoo!
Who is right? We made it to another Hump Day.
Yeah, another middle of the week. Here we go.
Yeah. So how are you doing with that time change?
Doesn't bother me much.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me much.
It's like the second or third day, it just kicked my butt. Something about it. I don't know what it is. It doesn't make sense. Ought not to. It never bothered me before.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I saw my son this morning, right?
Yeah.
Brought home, I stopped Wednesday mornings. I drop off the breakfast for him at work.
Nice.
And his eyes look like two pee holes in the snow. You know, it's like, good golly.
Oh my
I said,
goodness.
it looks like you just woke up, you know, and it's like, yeah. He says, I was just thinking how hungry I am. I said, well, it's a good thing that I brought food.
That's too funny.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
my problem was I worked late. I worked Saturday night.
Yeah.
And where I was working, the guys were they're having a card game and all, and they kind of stayed a little late, and they wound up not leaving until around midnight or so. So by the time I got home, it was 1.
Oh my God.
Took a shower, everything else kind of unwound. It's like, okay, now it's 1:30, but it's really 2:30. And I got to get up at 6 to drive down to Boca to race. So Sunday was late Sunday
You were dragging
afternoon.
tracks. Yeah.
Late Sunday afternoon was pretty rough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, because I was like, my body was going, hey,
Hello.
it's 3 hours. I don't care about the time changes. The 3 hours of sleep that are killing us right now.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but anyway,
Well, you're a better man than I can't even think about functioning with just 3 hours of sleep. Holy cow.
yep. And why is this giving me last week's edition? That's not right. But, well, we've got what many people call the 5th major coming up this weekend.
Okay.
The Players' Championship up
Yes.
in Ponte Vedra, in outside Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
It's
It's a fairly new course, right?
Well, I mean, it's been around since late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, it's pretty new when you
Relatively
consider the
new.
age of golf.
Yeah, when you think about it, I
Yeah.
guess so. Home to the infamous 17th hole, the Island Green.
Right.
Plays about 135 yards, give or take a little bit, depending on where they put the pin. And it's funny because you'd think not a very long hole. It's a pretty good sized green, and it eats these players up sometimes.
Yeah.
And like one guy explained to me one time, he says pros like to have a place to miss.
Okay.
You kind of play, okay, I want to hit a fade here, or I want to hit a hook or a draw. And if I start the ball here and it doesn't move, and not so big a deal because it's safe over there.
Right.
Well, there's nowhere safe. You got to hit it on the green, or
It's game over.
or your ball's in the car wash. It's getting rinsed because
Well,
so what happens is it gets in some of their heads. It's like, all right, I got nowhere to miss this. And once these guys get doubt in their head, it can be, the golf's a mind game, and it's arguably one of the most famous holes in all of golf. Yeah. And it came about purely by accident.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, they were digging up dirt around there. They had found some good fill that they wanted to use elsewhere on the golf course, and Pete Dye was using it, putting it here, there, and everywhere, and came time to put stuff back. And usually what happens is you find crap dirt elsewhere,
right?
And you move the crummy dirt over, and that's what you use to fill a spot where you're not going to put a lot of weight. And they just figured, we'll find enough of that, and we'll move it over here, and we'll fill this hole back up. Well, they didn't have enough to fill the hole up, so okay, what do we do here with this big spot that we've? Well, let's just, his wife Alice said, let's just use what we got and put a green in the middle of it and go from there. And that's what they did.
Oops.
So it's kind of interesting, to see something come about, basically completely by accident.
Right.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is. That is. It's a fascinating story.
So, I'll have that, I'll have a little bit of that running on my computer tomorrow, listening in,
Mhm.
while listening to hear the guys go, you hear okay, we go over to 17 and here's Rory McIlroy. He's got, and you hear him hit it and you either hear a cheer or you don't hear much of anything, or you hear a, oh, from everybody in the crowd.
Oh. That is not the sound you want to
But
hear.
it's not, no, you do not want to hear a big heavy sigh from from the crowd when you're playing there.
Yikes.
But before they could play there, they had to play at Arnie's place.
Okay.
This is the third edition of the Arnold Palmer Invitational since Arnie passed away.
Yeah.
His grandson Sam still is the host of the host hosts it for everybody.
Yes.
I so want to see him win this. I mean, if it's like, if the golf guards were nice, they would just bless this kid with like all the luck on the planet for just 4 days.
Yeah.
You know what? If he never has any more luck the rest of his life, give it to him for these 4 days.
Right.
Let him win his grandfather's tournament. I mean, I don't think there'd be a person on the planet that would begrudge him that.
Right.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But
has he gotten close?
He's made the cut. He's finished in the top, maybe 10 or 15. I mean,
right.
he's
So
played well. He's played
yeah.
well. He's been competitive in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's his home course. I mean, if anybody knows how to play that thing, it's got to be him.
Right.
But it just, he's one of the top players in the world. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's in the top 150 or so in the world, but he's not, in the top 10 or 20 or maybe even 30, or 30.
So what does it take?
Really
You got to have the fire in your belly. Is that what makes the difference, or what?
You got to have a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And you have to be good, and it's all about, like I said, you just gotta part of your game has to be really hot.
Yeah.
And usually if your putter's hot, that helps.
Yeah.
And Francesco Molinari, who won this thing this past week, he knocked in a 44-foot birdie putt on the last hole.
Good God, 44 feet.
44 feet.
Wow.
Shot 64 in the final round, not a single bogey on his card, and won the Bay Hill and won the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill.
Now, that was one of Mike's favorite golfers, Molinari.
Yeah, they're brother. There's two brothers.
Yeah.
There's Francesco, who's obviously the better of the two, and then there's Eduardo.
Yeah.
Molinari. So the two of them were big, played a lot on the European tour. I haven't heard a whole lot from Eduardo lately, but Francesco won the Open Championship last year.
Yeah.
Now he's got Bay Hill to put a notch. Defending champion Roy McIlroy did really well. I mean, Rory was on the top of the leaderboard going into Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Had a chance to defend, but just didn't play as well as he wanted to. One of the interesting things, and there, we've talked about this a lot, about the change with the rules allowing you to leave the pin in the hole.
Right.
And you kind of watch these guys to see how they're experimenting and what they want to do and how they approach this.
Mm-hmm.
And Molinari, excuse me, who left the pin in for that 44-foot putt, has said that he is finding that on longer putts, it helps his depth perception. He's better at judging how far away the hole is and rolling it closer because of that. He's having a better idea where the hole is, sees it better, sees the flag. I mean, obviously, looking at something standing up vertically off of your plane versus something that's flat on the same plane is got to be easy. Yeah.
Right. I get that. Yeah.
Now, some of the other players are starting to do that as well. They're leaving it in on longer putts, and they're pulling it out on some of the shorter putts.
Okay.
Take a guess why they say they're pulling it out on the shorter putts.
Because they don't want it to bounce off the pin.
I would have thought that too.
Right.
And I've noticed, in playing that, if the wind's blowing really hard and the flag is being pushed towards you,
right,
the ball doesn't fit in there quite so easily.
Right.
And I'm afraid it might, like you said, might hit it and catch a little too much of it and either come out or not fall all the way down or kind of hover in there. And okay, what do I do now? A lot of the pros are saying they're taking the pin out on shorter putts because the hole looks bigger without the pin in it. And it's helping their confidence. They don't feel
part
like,
of the
man, I got a
visual.
really small target here to hit. Now it looks a little bigger. Okay, I'm good. Boom, knock it in. So some of them now are taking it out on shorter putts just because the hole looks bigger and it just fits their eye and
Wow.
it helps them out.
All
So
right.
interesting. We're
It's a perception
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
rather than a tactical thing.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to see a lot of this. I mean, and
All right.
it's interesting that now 3 months in, we're starting to see some patterns developing as to what these guys do with whether they leave the pin in or not.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my goodness. Again, Rory McIlroy was in the final pairing on has been in the final pairing on Sunday 9 times since last year, but has not won. So he's been since early last year. He's been in the final pairing on Sunday, which means he's either in the lead or tied for the lead or within maybe a shot of the lead or two. And he has yet to win from being, that far in front. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Only shot 1 under par on Sunday, while Molinari went out and shot 64, which I believe was 7 under for the day. Molinari was hot. I mean, he played really well, putted well. It wasn't, a lot of people were saying, some of his rounds have been boring because he doesn't make a lot of birdies. But you know what? If you don't make too many mistakes, you don't need to make a lot of birdies to make up a round. You just hope hope you get them when you get them. But don't shoot a big number where you don't bogey or double bogey, and then now I need 2 birdies just to get back. So he takes what he gets. Got a nice little red Arnold Palmer sweater. Gets a cardigan to wear with the patch on it.
Nice.
Which is interesting. I mean, it's a little different than some of the things you get. It's a lot better than that tartan jacket that they give you.
Oh my God!
Up there in the Hilton Head. Looks like you should go cross the street into Brunswick and, and sell cars or something.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Sell some radio advertising.
Yep. But Rory McIlroy had an interesting take on this. He's playing well. Said he feels healthy. He feels very healthy, and he feels he's playing well. What he wants to see this year in the majors, he wants to see Jordan Spieth win the PGA Championship. He wants to see Phil Mickelson win the U.S. Open. And he wants to see himself win the Masters. By doing that, all 3 of these guys would then join the career Grand Slam club. All 3 of them would have won each of the 4 majors at least once. I think there's only 5 guys that have done it in history. Wow. So a chance for 3 guys to, jump into that club in the same year would be very interesting. Yeah. We'll see. It all starts with McIlroy in April. He's got to win the Masters, or it's not gonna happen for all 3 of them.
Right.
So we'll see. He says he really wants to win the Masters because he says he's had dreams of himself attending the annual Champions Dinner as a 92-year-old.
No, jeez.
It's like, okay,
that's not a dream. That's a nightmare.
How does that happen? How many people have a dream of themselves being 90 years old? I don't think I know. I haven't. That's
wow. What does that even look like?
I don't know, but I don't think it would be very good.
Wow.
Oh man. Yeah, like we said, we mentioned that this is the ninth time he's been in the final pairing and did not come away with a win. Last year he finished he was in the final pairing at the Dubai Desert Classic, shot 69 in the final round, finished second. Was in the final pairing at the Masters last year, shot 74 to finish tied for 5th. The BMW PGA Championship, shot 70, finished second. Bridgestone Invitational, shot 73 to finish tied for 6th. Let's see, the Tour Championship, shot 74. Um, so really looking at this, he's only had one, two, only 3 of those 9 rounds have been under par. Everything else has been at or over par. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
You got to nail it down. This year, Arnold Palmer Invitational shot 72, finished tied for 6th.
Wow.
And you got Molinari, who shot 64, made up 8 shots on Rory McIlroy in one day.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. And McIlroy, he shot 66 on Friday. On Saturday
Mm-hmm.
to put him within 1 shot of Matthew Fitzpatrick, who held a 54-hole lead going into Sunday and apparently disappeared as well. Unfortunately, I was out racing my car and didn't get to see any of Sunday's golf. I did not get home as early as I had hoped.
Do they say some of those shows and show them like on YouTube or anything like that? Is there a
I probably could have
Googled it? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's probably a replay late Sunday night on
on the Golf
on
Channel.
the Golf Channel,
Hmm.
but I fell asleep. I was tired.
I guess so, and I understand why.
Oh man. Well, anyway, we want to take a break.
We can do that.
We'll take a break. We do have a. I believe we have a guest calling in shortly. So
Okay. All right.
that would be nice.
All right. Very good.
And
Let's
we'll
check with
take
our
a break.
guys on 15 as we go to break.
Cool.
130 yards now.
Bill's got a very tough lie here.
Looks like we have some sort of sea monster in the water hazard here.
I believe that's a kraken, Bruce.
It looks like he's going to go with the 9-iron. That may not be enough club.
Well, he's definitely going to lose a stroke on this hole. If you're a golf
And welcome back to the Wednesday Night Golf Show, the Hump Day edition on WSTU Radio and WSTUTV.com. And with us on the phone, we have our guest tonight. As many of you remember, I was at the PGA Merchandise Show just a few, oh man, it's almost 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
Time is
Just
going by way
flying
too
by,
fast,
yeah.
way too fast. And usually I like to look for some of the more unique things there, some of the smaller companies. I mean, a lot of people are going to read in the big magazines, what Callaway's doing, what TaylorMade's doing, and Ping and all those guys. And I try to find some of the little guys. I mean, let's find some people that my listeners and readers wouldn't have otherwise known about. And while I was walking around, I found a booth that had some really, really, really nice putters, milled, beautiful putters. And the company is called T Squared Putters. And I met the young man, and when I say young man, I mean young. We're talking 17 years old, still in high school. And he's the guy that designs this and was able to convince his father, I guess he had to twist his arm quite a bit, to use his CNC milling company to turn his dreams into reality. And so from Buffalo, New York, or just outside Buffalo, New York, with us on the phone is Tony Tuber. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate
How's
you
the
calling
weather
in.
in Buffalo?
It's actually it's probably around mid-50s. It's actually really nice out. So.
Nice.
All right. The grass will start growing soon, and you can stop putting on the carpet in the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your story.
So I've always been passionate about golf, and ever since I was a little kid. And, I played junior golf at our country club and all that. But one thing specifically caught my eye, and that was putting. And I had a new putter every year. I always wanted the newest putter. And as I grew older, my dad, he has a medical and dental instrument business where he manufactures them and other metal parts like CNC and all that. And I never knew the capability of his machines or some of the engineers he has who are really talented. And, I worked there, but, never was really interested. One day, so I always had this dream of making my own putter, but, and I never knew I could actually do it like as easily as I thought. So I was talking to one of my dad's employees who's actually a really good family friend. And we were talking about Circle T's and custom Bettinardi's and all these putters. He's like, we can make them. And I was just blown away. And the first thing I did was I drew up a paper and went to him. I said, can you help me make this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know how to run a machine. He's like, you're going to have to meet with one of your dad's engineers and then do that. And so I went to my dad because, I've never talked to any of his engineers before. I said, well, I want to do this. And he's like, you're out of your mind. You can't have the time. They don't have the time. This is like, you're costing me money. So, it went away maybe for like a week. And then I was back at it. And I didn't even ask him. I just went to one of my dad's engineers, and his name is Dan. And I said, Dan, when you get some free time, can you please help me make one of these things? He said, yeah, sure. I got some free time next week if you want to come in after school, and we can make one of these things. And I gave him the paper, and from that, he just showed me, putting it in AutoCAD, his programming, and it was a putter on the screen, and I was like, wow. Like, he made it look so easy. He did it in like 2 hours.
Wow.
Later that week, he milled one during the day, and then my dad brought it home and said, I found this on Dan's table. Kind of cool, I guess. And I was like, yeah, I did. I'll tell you.
Oops. Dad, I meant to tell you about this.
And then he's like, all right, I guess you can make a couple. And so I made some for my friends and stuff, and my dad got some for his friends. And, it was a little hobby for like maybe 2 months. And then that summer was all, making a couple for friends and all that. And then, he's like, all right, if you really want to make this a business, we have to go to trade shows, because he goes to a lot of dental trade shows and he knows all about them. He's like, that's where business happens. You got to go to a trade show. And he said, tell me what the biggest trade show in the golf business is. I said, it's the PGA Merchandise Show in Orlando. It's every year in January. He's like, all right, book some tickets. We're going there. And I was obviously really happy. And we went to the PGA Merchandise Show last year and walked around. And then that was the time where he said, all right, we can make a run at this, because he saw the other competition and just how people are conducting themselves at their booths and stuff. And he said that we could do it much better. And I believe we have so far. So,
Well,
yeah.
I was very impressed. I was impressed with you, your father, the staff that was there. Just as much as I was impressed with the product, was like you said, just the way you guys handled yourselves, presented yourselves, talked with everybody that was there. You guys really stood out in a show to me that was a little bit flat, and that you guys made a difference in my week. I was very happy to find you guys and look at your product and like your product. And now I understand. I messaged with Zach a couple of times earlier this week. I know he's actually down here in Florida right now, traveling around, showing your product off, trying to get you guys in some shops and at some clubs. So that's pretty good news as well.
Yeah, he just got down there beginning of this week on Monday, so he'll be down there for a little while, and hopefully he can get some traction, get into some clubs, get interest from some pros, and we'll see what happens. I guess you don't know unless you try. So
Yeah, exactly. Now he's going to come back probably sunburned and suntanned, and
yeah, he'll be lucky.
he's gonna rub your nose in it a little bit when he gets back.
Yeah, I got to do all the dirty work here making the putters, but that either.
Wow. So obviously you guys are out of Buffalo, New York. You're kind of a small company. Who in the industry has talked to you guys? Yeah, I mean, if you can even talk about that, and how's everyone kind of taken to this? Besides me calling you guys, has anybody else jumped on this? Have you guys had a lot of feedback from the show? A lot of positive stuff.
Funny that you asked that. So all the feedback we've gotten is, I'd say 95% of it is really good. Just like you, like completely surprised, like really impressed, and they're just wondering where they can try one and get one. But then there was some bigger companies at the show that were lurking around our booth, and we engaged them. Guys like from Mizuno and Cleveland Golf, Srixon, they were over a lot, and they were really interested, and we were talking to them. And then a lot of other putter companies, smaller guys, are coming over and asking us a bunch of questions. So I guess it was really cool to see the recognition from other companies. Like, we're kind of, I don't know, we're in like with them now. It's not, not ourselves, I guess. So it was really comforting, I guess.
Yeah. You're in the party now. You're at the party.
Like, now I know, it gave me confidence in like, wow, I can really do this. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited.
Wow. Now, for anybody out there that wants to take a look at this, it's T2putters.com. That's just the letter T, putters.com. And I'm guessing that this comes from your name, Tony Tuber, correct?
It does.
All right. Hey, I figured that out all on my own.
Oh.
My engineer here is giving me a thumbs up. Oh my goodness. So Dad's all aboard now, huh? How I mean, obviously I mean, are you partners with your father? Is it, are you a little above your dad as far as this company goes, or how's that working for you?
I'd say right now we're pretty much equal, because he, without him, I would be like literally nowhere. I mean, he does a ton of work for me, and he's teaching me obviously about business, how to do everything, how to treat customers, how to talk to customers, all that stuff. So I could not say that I have more like stake in it than him, but I think when I graduate college, he's just gonna hand it over to me and be like, all right, it's yours now. Like, I'm not even gonna, it's not mine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even gonna talk to you about it. So,
well, I'll tell you what, is a father. I can imagine how how proud your dad is. I mean, I was, like I said, I was very impressed talking with you at the show, and just the way you carry yourself and the ideas that are in your head. And I can imagine your dad's pretty proud of the work you're doing and how well you're doing it.
Yeah,
What's-
for sure.
Yeah. What school are you going to, and what are you studying?
I'm actually in high school still. I go to Nichols School. It's a private school in Buffalo, and I'm a junior, so it's kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
English, math.
Right.
Science.
Right. Yeah. But when you go on to college, what
Yeah. Do you have a college picked out yet?
I do not have a college picked out yet.
Ah.
All right.
So
Well, I hear University of Buffalo is pretty cold.
I'm not going there.
No.
Yeah, it's fun. I mentioned that because I had a good friend in high school that I played football with, and he got offered a partial scholarship to University of Buffalo, and he was so excited that he got the scholarship. And I told him, I said, Yancey, you've never been out of the state of Florida. Do you know how cold it is in Buffalo? And he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going. It's college. And when I saw him the next summer, he was like, oh my God, I've never been so cold in my life.
Isn't that where they invented the ice cube?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh. So now if people want, if they go by your website, they can you guys have a stock, you know, shop, I guess, like your stock standard designs, but then you guys also have a customization category that people can go in and actually kind of design their own putter if they want, correct?
Yeah, we're still working on that section. Right now,
Mhm.
it's just a list of things you can get. But
Mhm.
I'm hoping soon that it'll be like, you know, you go and design on like Nike ID with your shoe. Like you can see all the colors on it.
Yeah.
Hoping we can do that eventually. But it's just a lot of money and just finding the right company to do it. And other than that, just a list of things. And you can call us or email us with what you want, and we'll get right on it for you.
Cool. And everything's right there at your website. Like I said, tsquaredputters.com. You guys are out of Buffalo, New York. The phone number there, folks, if you're listening, is 716-667-9215. You can also check that out. I'm going to be doing a column on putters from the show, and obviously these guys are going to be one of the putters mentioned, and then I'll be posting a review a little later on. I'm going to be testing one of these sweet babies out here in a little while, and I'm excited about that. In fact, I don't see the mallet type on the website, Tony. Why is that?
Well, the ones at the show, I literally put them together like the day before we left, so they were all prototypes. And so I think there was 4.
Mhm.
We had made 6, and like they were like the original ones.
Okay.
It's just a matter. I think we sold them all. They were the most popular one. We only have one left.
Yeah, they were so good looking. I mean, I posted up on my Instagram account a couple of pictures of them. I was like, this is nice. You guys got to look at this thing. So
When we get the next batch out, which I think should be done towards the end of this week, I'll get them up there as soon as possible.
there you go. All right. So what? So obviously you're going to school. So you get off school, you come home. What do? You do your homework and then you go to work at the shop, or do you go to the shop first and then come home and do homework? You must be working like 15-hour days.
Yeah, it gets long sometimes, but I mean, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're not really working. At least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
So, I'll go to school, and then I do track. I run track after school, and I get home at like 5:30.
Okay.
And I will eat dinner. I'm not the most studious guy. I'll go to work actually, and then I'll get home around, between 8 and 9, maybe later. And then, I'm lucky. I get a lot of study halls during the day. So
There you go. Now, have you learned how to design some of this stuff on CAD, or are you still designing it, on paper, and then one of the engineers puts it together and puts the program in that then makes the putter happen?
No, I'm still doing it on paper, and then I give it to them. But over the summer, when I have a lot more time, right now it's all a big rush. When I have more time and I'm there all day, every day, then I really want to learn how to do it. Because he always, I don't know, he's kind of not annoying, but he's like, oh, we can't. And so when I learn how to do it, then I can experiment for myself, and we see what we can really do.
There you go. You can tweak a little here and there and play with it. And if it doesn't work, okay, we'll go back the other way. And yeah, versus some of those engineers, they can be that way.
Yeah, he's so like hands-on. He's like, oh, it must be this. I'm like, oh, but come on, you can't like.
Come on, try it this way.
Yeah.
Think out of the box, darn it.
Time being, I can't complain at all, and we're just getting out a ton of putters. So
There you go. Well, Tony, I appreciate you taking the time to call in. I'll let you get back to work, and hopefully some of our listeners will take a look at your website, which is tsquaredputters.com. Phone number and email contact information are right there. If you're interested in one of their putters, give them a holler and at least give it a try. I mean, like I said, how often do you get a custom-made putter from Buffalo, New York, designed by a junior in high school? I'm telling you, I'm still flabbergasted by that. That's pretty cool. But thanks again for calling in. Tell your dad I said hi.
all right, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Appreciate it. Take care and have a good rest of the week.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye-bye. We're going to take a break. If you want to join us, 220-9788 is the number. We'll be right back.
Guess what happened on this day in history, James?
On this day in history, what?
Yes. Astronomer William Herschel discovered the planet Uranus.
Really?
Yes. Which was named Georgium Sidus in honor of King George III.
Uh-huh.
Do you know why the planet's no longer called Georgium Sidus? Because the other planets were named after Roman and Greek gods.
Gods, yeah.
Right. And so that didn't fit into the paradigm. So he got shot down in the scientific community of the day, and they says, no, we got to stick with our Greek and Roman gods. And so, King George got kicked out of the planetary
system, huh?
Yeah. So I just kind of a funny little rest of the story. It's, like, how does it end up calling Uranus or Uranus, when it was originally named
I thought that
George.
was a really loaded question. I was going to be like, maybe because he was because King George was a big butt. They said, well, we're going to take a play on that.
No, I was,
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
This day in history stuff.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, more news from Bay Hill. They opened what they called the Arnold Palmer Experience. They want to make sure that people learn about Arnie that didn't know as much about him. I mean, obviously he's been passed away for going on 3 years now.
Wow.
And they 4,000 square foot, hold a lot of memorabilia that's usually up in Latrobe at the country club up there.
In Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yep. Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, they wanted people to learn about probably the most important golfer possibly of the game's history. I mean, Arnie was the one that really brought golf to the common guy.
Right.
Got it started on TV and everything else. So a lot of guys owe an awful lot to Arnie, and the fact that he was as personable as he was, really, I mean, that's why they call him the king.
Right.
I mean, Arnie had 62 PGA Tour victories. It included 7 major championships. A lot of people said that his greatest gift was the way he could connect to people, pulling them in with just a smile or a handshake or giving you a thumbs up. The Arnold Palmer Experience was designed to give people a sense of who he was, how he played, and how he lived. And one interesting thing at the exhibit was they had an interactive hitting bay. They had 3 interactive hitting bays where you could replicate 3 of his most famous shots.
All right.
The tee shot at the first hole at Cherry Hills Country Club, where Palmer drove the par 4 green in the final round to set up his only U.S. Open win. There's a shot from the scruff of the 16th hole in the final round of the 1961 U.S. Open the 1961 Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. He went that helped seal his victory and win that event for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was an interesting one. It was the last shot he hit at his event at Bay Hill. Which was he hit his driver off the middle of the fairway on the 18th hole at Bay Hill, because at his age, it was all he needed, everything he had to get it there.
Right.
And he managed to knock it on the green. Well, now that he did that, you can go there and try to replicate that shot as well.
Oh.
And what's nice is they're going to keep this there through the end of the summer at least. So if you get up to Bay Hill, you need to stop by and take a look. I mean, if you go to Orlando, you can get onto the property very easily. I don't believe there's a guard. There wasn't, last time I was there wasn't a guardhouse or anything like that to prevent you from going into the neighborhood. Go in, take a walk through this and learn a little bit. I mean, it's a really neat thing to do. And, they talk about how personable Arnie was. And I know that at his funeral, his grandson, Sam Saunders, when he was talking about him, he was talking about how his grandfather was always there for him anytime he needed him, day or night or otherwise. And he said one time he called him. He says his grandfather answered the phone. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing all right." He goes, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "Well," he says, my grandfather said, "Well, I'm sitting here with the president." he goes, and I was thinking, well, president of Coca-Cola
Right.
or
Yeah,
know,
NBC.
then
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
He goes, of what? And he goes, of the country. Of the United States. And Sam Slaughter said, he says, I kind of stuttered for a minute because I really didn't know what to say. And I'm like, you didn't need to answer the phone. You could have called me back. And at which time, Artie, being the grandfather, said, no, you're my grandson. I will never not pick up the phone for you.
Wow.
And it's like,
Okay.
even the president can wait. I was like, that's a good grandfather.
Wow. Family first.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat.
Very cool.
Yep. There's some of Arnie's clubs in there. There's some of his trophies from his, from playing on the PGA Tour. There's a 6-minute video. And what's interesting is the outside of this tent where you enter. Arnie's emblem was, Jack's got the golden bear.
Right.
Arnie's was this umbrella. Was the umbrella. That was his logo.
Okay.
It was an umbrella. It was yellow and green and it had all the bright, vibrant colors in it. And that was Arnie. That was Arnie's symbol. And a lot of the guys at his event this week played with that logo embroidered onto their shirts.
Nice.
Which was a really, really cool way to honor.
Nice nod.
To honor him.
Mm.
They asked Stuart Sink, who's one of my favorite guys on tour. They were asking a lot of the guys, first time you ever played with Arnie, first time you met him, first time you played with him. And Stuart Sink said, well, he said, he says, in the weeks before Bay Hill, he said, I wanted to play a practice round. He says, so my manager set me up to play a practice round out here. He says, and as luck would have it, Arnie was here. So I was going to be playing with Arnie.
Wow.
He says, and we were starting on the 10th hole. He says, and the 10th hole is it's not a very long par 3. He says, I'm up on the tee and I got my 3-wood out. He says, Arnie comes walking up. Hello, I'm Arnold Palmer. I'm like, yeah, of course you are. Yeah. It's like, yeah. He goes, I shook my hand. He goes, and he took one look at my club and he goes, what's that? And I looked at him. I said, it's a 3-wood. He goes, and Arnie looked at me and just shook his head and goes, this is a driver hole, son. He says, I went back to the bag and put the 3-wood in there and pulled my driver. Hit that. And the guy interviewing him asked him, he says, and what have you done? He says, ever since then, to honor him, I've made sure I hit 3-wood on this hole. Even though it really doesn't call for driver.
Yes,
You
right.
hit driver on the hole, even though it doesn't call for a 3-wood. He says, just out of respect to him from that day, I always hit driver here.
That is very cool.
Yep. So pretty neat. I mean, I remember I met Arnie. God, I met Arnie several times. I met him at the Masters in the practice rounds.
Mm-hmm.
God, he was always mobbed with people, but never
in a hurry.
Never in a hurry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Never in a hurry. Always made sure he took time to say hi to everybody. And it wasn't just, walking along, signing autographs, handing it back to people as you walked along.
He wanted to know you.
He had to make eye contact with you. You knew you saw him and you knew he saw you, whether it was just for a second or two, but that was just how he was. And if you look at his autograph, you can read it.
Right.
You can read
Not a scribble.
it. Says it's not a scribble. God, one of the worst autographs I ever saw in my life was Nolan Ryan's.
Yeah.
And Arnie, basically, that was one of the things I know that Jordan Spieth said that was one of the things Arnie told him. Make sure when you sign your name, people can read it. People need to know who you are. You need to be able to. People need to look at that and go, man, who was it? Oh, that's Jordan Spieth, or oh, that's Arnold Palmer.
Right.
Same way with Jack Nicklaus. I mean, he, write your name, sign your name so he can read it. Not 10 years from now, look at it and go, man, who was that guy? I
Right.
don't remember who that was. But I went to Arnie's golf academy in high school, the summer between my junior and senior year of high school. And Arnie was never there in the summers. He'd go back up to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and when we graduated, we were there for the week. Friday evening, you were going to graduate, and Saturday morning, you were going to go back home. And they had a big dinner and gave us our plaques and everything else. Well, I don't think Arnie made a lot of money on the on the school.
No,
Probably made some, but
just
he
enough to cover expenses, I'm sure. Yeah.
but he flew down in his private jet from Latrobe
Mm-hmm.
to be there to personally hand each one of us our plaque and our certificate and shake our hand and thank us for coming there to learn a little more about the game of golf. And I thought, man, that's
class.
class
Yeah.
because
Yeah, you didn't have to do
it
that.
probably cost you a lot more in jet fuel and wear and tear on your plane
Right.
than you ever thought about making off this thing. That's kind of cool. That's pretty neat. That's spoke a lot with what, how much he cared about the game and about people.
Right.
And I mean, he was the reason, his popularity and the way he presented the game of golf and himself was why my dad started playing golf, because my dad had never played golf in his life.
Isn't that amazing?
Until Arnie got popular. He's like, okay, what's this game this guy plays? I think I'll try this. And he passed it along to me, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
Very cool. What
pretty
a great
cool.
story.
Pretty cool. And thanks again to Tony Tuber for calling in from T Squared Putters. Give him a look, folks, out of Buffalo, New York. Yeah, you'll be impressed. It's not what you'd expect from your normal 17-year-old. Thankfully, he's not a normal 17-year-old.
Yeah, he's up and coming.
Yes, he is. We can say, I knew them when.
Yes.
Yeah, he might be the next Scotty Cameron or even bigger. You never know.
Wow. Cool.
Well, that's it for us, folks. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next Hump Day.
All righty. Take care.